Hi everyone. As I'm sure you're aware, at the moment our teaching series is all about the presence of God. And I'm here in my back garden, and this is a vine, believe it or not. It doesn't look particularly fruitful at the moment, but that is partly because of the time of year. It will, of course, as spring continues to come upon us, it will have buds and shoots and eventually big green leaves that will catch the sun, and it will produce grapes. And you could imagine that Jesus probably had been seeing or walking through some vineyards in Israel as he was walking with his disciples when he began to share this example, which we can read in John 15. And I'm going to read it from the International Children's Bible. He said, "I am the true vine. My Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch of mine that does not produce fruit, and he trims and cleans every branch that produces fruit so that it will produce even more fruit. You are already clean because of the words I have spoken to you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. No branch can produce fruit alone. It must remain in the vine. It is the same with you. You cannot produce fruit alone. You must remain in me. I am the vine and you are the branches. If a person remains in me and I remain in him, then he produces much fruit. But without me, he can do nothing. If anyone does not remain in me, then he is like a branch that is thrown away. That branch dies. People pick up dead branches, throw them into the fire and burn them. Remain in me and follow my teachings. If you do this, then you can ask for anything you want and it will be given to you. You should produce much fruit and show that you are my followers. This brings glory to my Father. I have loved you as the Father loved me. Now remain in my love. I have obeyed my Father's commands and I remain in his love. In the same way, if you obey my commands, you will remain in my love. I have told you these things so that you can have the same joy I have. I want your joy to be the fullest joy." And in some other translations, that last verse from verse 11 says things like, "My purpose for telling you these things is so that the joy that I experience will fill your hearts with overflowing gladness." Or, "My joy may be in you and your joy may be complete." Or, "So you may be filled with joy. Yes, your joy will overflow." I think so often when we think about our relationship with God, it's very easy almost to treat him as though he's some kind of genie in a bottle. That we come to him when we have particular needs and we can approach him and say, I'm struggling at this time. Would you come and be near me? Or would you provide healing? Or would you provide me with the things I need, maybe finances or friends or whatever it might be? And in those times, sometimes it's easy to come to God and pursue him and find his presence. But what we learn from what Jesus said in John 15 is that we are to remain in him. Not just come to him when we need things, but to remain in him and to enjoy his presence. And in fact, the purpose that he tells us these things for is so that his joy may be in us and would overflow through us, would be made complete in us, so that we can be full of joy. And the overflow of that then becomes the fruit in our lives, the fruit of good works, the fruit of his provision being seen, the fruit of healing and miracles being seen in us. The Bible tells us, doesn't it, that the joy of the Lord is our strength. And it's as we find our joy in him that we find strength for life. But it also says that in his presence is fullness of joy. So I want to encourage us in this season to look at for ourselves, what does it mean for us to enjoy his presence, to remain in him and experience that fullness of joy? What does it mean for us this week as we go to school, as we go to work? How can we find his presence in our lives and not just come to him when we have a particular need? It's a bit like relationships we might have in a family. If we only went and spoke to our parents or our loved ones when we needed something, it wouldn't be much of a relationship. But we actually often enjoy hanging out together and spending time with each other. How can we do the same in our relationship with God so that we can enjoy his presence day in and day out, and let that be our strength that then overflows into a fruitful life lived for him? Maybe explore this together as families and as groups. I'd love to hear your responses on how we can live as those branches connected into the vine, living in the fullness of joy and experiencing fruit in our lives. God bless.